Good evening, everyone.
Bonjour tout le monde.
Welcome to Wine and Real Estate.
Yes, tonight we're going to be talking with Rowland, and I'm very excited to hear what he has to say about wine and about real estate.
Exactly, there you go. So we have Cam. We're just gonna add you. So, yes, so we learned that he enjoys some Malbec. There you go, we're just gonna add you. So Malbec, we have a fun story to tell about Malbec in a few seconds.
I'm going to wait for Cam to come on.
Hey, good evening.
Cam.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va
nice
bien?
to meet you.
That's all the French I know.
Oh, you're so limited. No.
Yes.
That's not very nice.
Yeah.
So welcome
Yes.
to Wine and Real Estate.
Thank you. It's great to be on with you guys.
Yeah,
Nice
we're
to meet
glad
you,
to have
Jennifer.
Yes, it's nice to meet you, Cam. I've seen you speak before, but we haven't really personally met. So it's nice to see you in person.
Yeah, likewise.
Yes.
So we learned that you enjoy Malbec, so a red wine drinker, but you said also you enjoy drinking almost anything, so.
Yeah. You know, white wines are great. I don't like them too sweet. But yeah, I enjoy a nice spectrum of wines. I don't know a lot about wines, but yeah, Malbec would be my favorite.
Your kind of go-to.
Yeah, my go-to for sure. So.
Oh, well, that's nice. What do you like about Malbec? We're actually drinking a Shiraz this evening, so chin chin.
Chin chin,
Oh,
yes.
look at that. Well, let me pour some of
Yeah.
mine here. This is my favorite.
Okay.
It's called the Show.
Oh,
wow.
I've never heard of that one. Is it from
Yeah.
Argentina?
It's from Argentina. Yeah, they recently, probably about 2 years ago, they changed their label. It used to be a picture of like a drawing of someone riding on a horse, like a rodeo.
Oh.
Okay.
And the show, and so they changed the label, which this is beautiful, of course, but I like the old one better.
Oh, yeah.
And but yeah, no, I like the grape. I love the smoothness of it. It's wonderful. So cheers.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salut.
Santé.
So I have a fun story I meant to tell you about Malbec wine. So we're going to get into real estate in a few minutes, but we need to talk about wine.
Yes.
So Malbec in French, it's a French wine, first of all, that's been brought to Argentina.
Really?
And it comes from Bordeaux. So in Bordeaux, it's very wet. So the grape there used to get like a lot of rot and mold and phylloxera. So if you're a wine connoisseur, you'll know that phylloxera almost decimated all the wine in Europe.
Mm.
And that's why someone was like, oh, I love Malbec, I have to bring it to Argentina.
Okay.
In Argentina, it just thrives because it's a lot drier, the climate. So
Because Malbec in French, if you translate it directly, actually means like a sore beak.
yeah, so
Really?
it hurts your mouth.
So it's like it hurts their mouth because in France the climate wasn't ideal for those grapes.
Okay.
So they felt it was a bitter and very acidic wine.
Wow.
And so it was used in mixes like méritage. So some Bordeaux wine, you'll find the Malbec in it.
Okay.
And it's usually mixed with something else. But in Argentina, it's usually pure. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, most Malbec comes from Argentina now, so that's why.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's interesting.
Very cool. Very cool.
So we can
Interesting.
enjoy it.
Yes.
Now I know. That's
Yes.
That's
You got a
fascinating,
little lesson.
yeah. I thought it was native to Argentina, but I didn't do any research on it, of course. So.
Oh no, but it's a lot of people would think that because so much Malbec comes from there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Are there any wineries in Manitoba? Because you're joining us from beautiful Manitoba.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus 15 today.
Oh, wow.
Sunny.
Wow.
Got out of
Our
my
first snow.
got out of my bike. It was awesome. Are there any wineries? You know what? We've got a ton of breweries here.
Okay.
A lot of great beer. But wineries, there probably is, but I'm not aware of them, and we're not known for that. You know, I was in Kelowna, spent a fair bit of time in Kelowna, and we were there in September, and of course did a bunch of wine tasting out there. So, yeah, I mean, it's not much here that I can speak of. So.
Okay, yeah, well, probably wouldn't be the right climate for that anyway in Manitoba.
Yeah, well, it's a right climate for beer. So.
And to drink it. Yeah. Very cool. So just to get into real estate now, so we listened to your webinar I think it was last week.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about what you do as a real estate investor?
For those that are listening and don't know as well.
Right. So, boy, where do I start?
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I've been real estate investing since 2006 and went full time in 2010. So, you know, I've done flips, wholesale. I mean, I'm still doing these flips, wholesale, buy, rent, and hold. Of course, every investor needs buy, rent, and hold in their portfolios. I've done land development, apartment block builds, done some investing in Texas, lots of different stuff. But I would say that the majority of my time is on lease options. And, you know, so kind of when you're in your groove, you've kind of got your main stuff you work on and then related stuff, right? So I just picked up 8 homes from a tied and frustrated landlord, which we can talk about later what that means. But so with those, we're going to do some flips and we're going to do some wholesaling and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so for me, most of my time, I'd say about 70% of my time is spent on lease options.
Okay.
And
kind of like Malbec of real estate. It's your go-to.
Yeah, it's my go-to. Exactly. Yeah, that's my Malbec. And so, you know, whether that's a rent to own or lease option, but just the ability to control properties with very little money down. You don't have to physically own them, but you control them through paperwork. Super powerful. I love it because
$100 we learned. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so I love it because there's so much creativity around it. Like, yeah, it's different. It's not your normal. Like, you got to be creative to do deals like this. And well, not you don't have to be creative, but you have to expand your mind a little bit in terms of it's just a different shift, because most people who get into real estate investing, when they start, they typically will read a book or two, they'll follow a couple people, and they'll start looking on MLS, and they'll get a mortgage from a bank, and that's great. It's a great way to start, but anybody who's done that and wants to grow quickly realizes that that's a long way to get to your goals and dreams. And so for me, I started doing lease options in 2010. And the reason why I liked it at that point was because I could control properties with very little money down, and it had much higher than normal cash flow, right? So on my first deal, I got $22,000 plus $200 a month, and for the next 5 years, and virtually no expenses on the property. And so I was able to duplicate that over and over again. And so, yeah, I was able to quit my day job with that. I was in a C-suite position and was able to transition into full-time real estate investing, doing lease options, if you can believe it.
Wow,
that's great.
10 years too. That's great.
Yeah.
Longevity too, because some people, they quit and do something and then it kind of fizzles out and they're back to something. So this is good.
Yeah.
So like you said, people usually go the traditional route with the MLS and the buy and hold. What attracted you to the lease option route?
Yeah. So, you know, I probably had 5 doors under my belt in around 2009. And I felt it was time to move on from my role. I'd been with the organization for 17 years. And I just felt a stirring that it was time to move on. And I looked at the cash flow from my 5 doors, and it's kind of like, okay, that's good, but it's not going to replace my income. And so, you know, long story short, that was a year of transitioning. And I remembered from my real estate, so I bought a course package from one of the national real estate investing groups that's ultimately based out of the States, but they we're here in Canada as well. And I paid a bunch of money for those courses. And I remember on their 3-day weekend in the beginning, lots of people are familiar with this model. So on that 3-day weekend, they covered basically 15 different types of real estate investing, right? Mm-hmm. Wholesale, buy, rent, and hold, flipping, lease options / rent to own, multifamily, land development, et cetera, et cetera. They probably spent about 3 to 5 hours on each subject over the course of 3 days. And I remember the lease option strategy as being a really great way to get increased cash flow, right? And so as I was starting to finish up my day job, I remembered this strategy called lease options, and it was like, I remember the guy talking about that, and he, on a whiteboard, he unpacked how to do those deals and creative way to control properties with very little of your own money and get very high cash flow at the same time. And I thought, that could be my opportunity to, quit my day job doing those. So I hired a coach specifically for that strategy. And 6 weeks later, I landed my first deal, and I got my my check 2 weeks after that for $22,000. Wow. And I did it. Yeah, it's an amazing start. And I did it with none of my own money. I got someone else to buy the property for me. And I looked at that about a month after that. I looked at that, and it's like, this is totally duplicatable. Like, why can't I do this again and again? Like, with this couple that bought the house, they probably could do a second house, and why couldn't I just keep on doing this? So it was at that time, it all kind of fit together. It's like, okay, we're gonna take the leap. And basically what I did was I jumped out of the airplane, and I had the pieces for the parachute, but I built it as I was, flying at 10,000 feet. So some people don't like that kind of stress. And for me, it was a really motivating factor. It really pushed me very hard, because that first year was very challenging, no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think I needed that challenge to solidify that, A, the ability that I could do that, and B, just to do these deals that were creative and yeah. So that next year I did 4 more of those deals. All of them were no money down for me. And like the second deal, I got $13,000 up front. The third deal, I got $10,000 up front, and then I was getting monthly cash flow from all these as well. Wow. And then the fourth one that year, I got another $20,000 down, and I just kept on going from there. So to answer your question, Jennifer, it's just like, I like this model because of the higher cash flow, the ability to get mortgages, the ability to acquire properties without having to qualify for a mortgage was just like, blew my mind. Like, how do you do that? And I did it, and I'm teaching students how to do it today. I'm still doing it today, right? So we just picked up these 8 homes, and I didn't have to qualify for a mortgage. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's like one of the worst parts I find is the stress of qualifying for the mortgage. And
yeah. So we actually have a question from superstarrealestate.ca.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on the lease option? You kind of did a little bit there. And what are you leasing, and how are you leasing? So
okay.
It's actually super real estate.
Super real estate.
Yeah,
okay. Add a star.
Yes.
Cool. Good. Yeah. So basically, what it is it's lease options. Let's focus on the word option. Basically, it's an option to purchase. So meaning that, if I've got a house next door and I drop a contract with the owner, and then, so basically what I'm doing is I'm leasing it from him or her for a period of time, typically 3 years. And we agree upon a purchase price at the end of 3 years. So my option agreement, I've got several contracts, but my option contract says that I will, take care of the property. I'm going to give them a little bit of money to make it a legally binding contract. So I typically give $100 check, and that's very intentional that I give a check. because it's traceable, right?
Yeah.
Cash, you can't trace it, but a check, they got to deposit it. Now I've got record that they received the money. So now I've got interest in the property, right? I'm no longer a third party. I've got physical interest in that property next door. And so we agreed that in 3 years, I've got the option to purchase the property at X price. Let's just say $300,000. But the beauty of the option is it's an option. I don't have to go through with the option if I don't want to. And
if the market tanks, you could say, I'm out.
yeah, typically. So so what it does, it gives me a ton of flexibility. And so whether or not I'm doing an option on a condo or a single family house or a duplex or triplex or multifamily or land, you can negotiate these terms that are beneficial to both parties. And so what I like about that is that I can pick up the house next door for $100, and I then control that property through my paperwork. Now, I'm being very upfront with the owner, right? Usually the owner is looking for a solution to their problem, and that problem can be 100 different things, right? When I talk about tired and frustrated landlords, there's 100 different reasons why they'd be tired and frustrated. And oftentimes they're not even tired and frustrated. They're looking for a different exit strategy. So, for example, one of the opportunities in this market day and age is all the baby boomers who've got multiple properties that are looking to exit out of their properties. Well, they don't necessarily want to sell them all at once, and they don't necessarily want to put a for sale sign up front. So an option is a great strategy for them because behind the scenes, without putting a for sale sign up front, they can orchestrate a sale with me or someone like me who understands the power of the option contract and can systematically sell these homes one a year if they wanted. And so that can limit their capital gains. It doesn't spook the tenant who's in there, and it just becomes a win-win. So, you know, for example, one of my early option contracts back in 2011 was with a tired and frustrated landlords, and so he really liked what I was doing. We started with one, and then a couple of days later, he texts me and says, "I've got 4 more properties. Are you interested?" To do the same thing. Like, yes, I'm very interested.
Of course.
And then the next one was 7 properties from the same guy. So over the course of 8 years, I've done 20 plus properties with this one guy. And and like I said, I just locked down this other deal where I took 8 properties off of this gentleman's hand, and he was truly tired and frustrated. 5 of them were vacant. And so get this funny story with this. So we pick up 8 properties from this guy, and 5 of them don't have locks on them. They're boarded up, right? The other 3 are tenanted, and so that's great. So we go to close, and it's like, okay, where are the keys? I don't have any keys. It's like, what do you mean? So guess what his profession is?
Locksmith.
He's a locksmith.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
He's a locksmith, and he didn't have any keys to his 8 properties. So that kind of gives you a hint of the tired and frustrated landlord when he doesn't have keys to his properties, right? So because his tenants changed them or whatever, he had a fire in 2 of the properties. He didn't even know that there was fires in them.
Oh my goodness.
You know, so we come in and we negotiate terms that are beneficial to him and beneficial to us. So this deal we closed out in a little over a week.
Well, that's quick too. So that's the power of these options as well as its quick turnaround. I mean,
yeah, very quick. And yeah, and you know, for this guy, he was motivated because he's tired. His health is not great. We met him at a couple of the properties, and you know, he had trouble walking around, and so we were able to, you know, come to an agreement that was good for both of us. So anyways, going back to the option, I hope that answers the question. So a lot of my options, I turn around and I sublease, and I will turn them into rent to own, meaning that I'm helping families get into home ownership.
Okay.
right? And so you don't always have to do that. Like, so I've picked up properties that I've got an option and I purchased them. I've also sold my properties to other investors who can't get mortgages right now. So I've unloaded a bunch of properties, including some duplexes, to other investors who had some money to put down, but they couldn't qualify for a mortgage right now, but they could in 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's so many different strategies that you can do with the option, but a lot of mine I do turn around and make them available to families who've got enough income to qualify for the mortgage.
Okay.
And they have a little bit of money to put down, $5, $10, $15, $20,000. But often their credit isn't good, right? So we're helping them build up their credit as well as accumulating a bigger down payment. And so those are typically 3-year deals. And so, yeah, so it's cool because on that front, we're helping families get into home ownership that either their first time or, you know, they got sick or went bankrupt or any number of reasons, and we're helping them get back into home ownership.
So you're really solving a problem, because that's a discussion we've been having, Jennifer and I, is affordable. Well, it doesn't mean it's affordable, but housing, period, is hard to come across, especially we're in Ottawa. Mm-hmm. So housing.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's really solving 2 problems. Yeah. The tired landlords and then the home families, ownership. So that's great.
With like bruised credit or newcomers or people that went through a divorce or jobs, or like right now with COVID, a lot of people have lost income, lost businesses. Mm-hmm. They're still good people. They're still able maybe to afford it if they have a good job, because you need that steady income. Yeah. But they just, ran into some hard times. So that's great. Wow. Mm-hmm. How many houses in total would you say you've kind of flipped or
oh boy,
optioned or?
I mean, yeah, both flipped and option. I mean, hundreds at this point. So a lot.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I've been doing it full time since 2010, right? So
yeah, 10 years.
Been a lot of activity, a lot of experience. I mean, I've definitely had the roller coasters and stuff like that, and you know, monumental challenges, monumental lows, monumental highs, all that sort of stuff. And so, I mean, I was chatting with someone this morning, actually, one of my students from here. He was asking me about some of the challenges I went through, and I told him about a period in my life that really rocked my world about 3 years ago. And he says, "You're still standing?" And go, "Yeah, I mean, it's been tough, but you know, a couple of the mentors that I had at that time couldn't help me through this journey. I mean, sure, they could listen to me, but couldn't offer me a lot of advice because they hadn't gone through what I was going through, right? And so, I mean, the experience you get, I mean, so often people just want the high experiences, right? I mean, we want to feel good. We want to drink wine and be merry. And, you know, we want to cash the big checks and tell the stories of success and stuff like that. Those are all great, but you know what? We don't learn a lot in those high periods. It's the valleys and the low periods that we really learn a lot. And so I've had several of those, you know, that have been like, oh man, what do we do? You know, but I've learned so much through that, right? So my filter is so much more robust now when I'm looking at deals, when I'm talking with investors, when I'm talking with tired frustrated landlords, when I'm talking with other students. I mean, I get people pitching ideas to me all the time, right? And right away, you know, because of the kind of experience I've had, you can pick up on things like really quick when when you start out, you don't even know that they're even there. Whereas now it's just like, you know, all these different points, right, that you can just pick up on right away. So
you learn something with every deal. Like even with François and I were like, okay, we learned something from that one, moving on to the next one. So
next one, we're not doing this.
Yes.
This person seemed great, but nope, we're out. And
So since you've been doing it so long, Cam, your go-to strategy that you do most of the time, how do you find that the economy affects what you do?
Not much, actually,
Oh,
because whether or not, like, if I was a flipper, I mean, I do flips, but you know, a flipper, like flips are affected by the market for sure.
because you need massive appreciation,
Yeah.
like forced appreciation.
Yeah. So when I'm doing lease options, whether if it's an up market or down market or a sideways market, which is kind of what we're in right now.
Yeah, we're kind of
because
saying that we
because we don't really know what's going on right now. Sure,
No.
there's pockets of, you know, I mean, here in Winnipeg and other centers across Canada, people are talking about, you know, market appreciation, like skyrocketing, all this sort of stuff. That is happening, but there's also other stuff that's just sitting for months. And, you know, until we're actually through this, we don't really know what's going on. And so in terms of my market, there's always people who have got properties that they got to unload that, you know, they can't sell. So, for example, when you're on that webinar, I talked about that house that smelled like dog and crap. And,
Yes, I remember that.
right? I mean,
The dog
that,
scratches.
yeah, that was during a fairly hot market. But if that owner had to put that on MLS, he would not have sold it for high enough for what he needed to get out. So we became a solution to his problem, and we solved his problem. He got out without any extra debt. We made some money in the process. We didn't even own the house while we flipped it. And so there's opportunities like that. And in terms of us helping rent-to-own clients, whether if it's a hot market or a saturated market, either way, those people can't get mortgages, right? And so they need legitimate and trustworthy companies like us who can help them get into home ownership, because they can't. And even with, you know, I mean, we're talking, people are getting 1.9% interest. I mean, so a client of ours, rent-own client, you know, just qualified for a mortgage, and they got, you know, just over 2% interest rate locked in for 5 years. Now, 3 years ago, they couldn't get a mortgage. And now they're getting it for 2%. I mean, that's incredible, right? So even in these times right now, when stuff is flying off the shelves with MLS, if it's priced right, it's flying off. It's even going for above list. And people are getting, you know, historically low interest rates, but people still can't get mortgages in this climate. And so that's where the opportunity comes in, you know, for this.
Well, that makes sense. We have another question from superrealestate.ca. He says, do you lease homes that are already tenanted? Or for this to work, you take over the lease and sublease rent to own?
Yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, you can do that in either way. So the two primary ways that I do it are, I will find a property and I'll turn around and sublease that. So that's called a house first. So whether that's a brand new build, which I've done, or a property that is as is and I just move it like that, or a property where I'll pick up, we'll do renos, and then we'll show it. That's all called house first, meaning that we've got the house first, and then we find a tenant buyer for it. And then the other way is tenant first, where you find a great tenant and you pre-qualify them, and then you go out and find them a house.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's
both,
I've known more about. Like, I know some people that do rent to own, and that's what they've told me about, is you find the person, find their dream house, and well, dream house, or anyway, a good house in a good neighborhood, and then you qualify them and work through the steps with them. Yeah,
so I've done both. The majority of what I do is house first, largely because I've literally had investors like handing me balls of keys, and just like they just keep coming, right? These opportunities just keep on coming, and so that's just been awesome. So I just keep keep doing that and have found real success in that. I know some people who focus on tenant first claim or say that that's their preferred way, that's the best way to do it. I've had success with both ways, and because I've had a lot of tired and frustrated landlords, giving me their homes, I've just gravitated more towards that because they just keep coming, and there's more tired, frustrated landlords, and especially now coming through the whole COVID-19 thing, we're going to see a lot more tired and frustrated landlords, and they've been there before, yes. But we're going to see more of them now. I mean, we're going to see a lot more foreclosures now. And so if you can pick up houses at the auction, or ideally pre-foreclosure, right? So I've bought a lot of the auction, but if you can buy them pre-foreclosure, actually speak with the owner, solve their problem with that. Yeah. Then you can help them not have a bankruptcy or, a foreclosure on their report, on their credit report. And you can get in at a decent deal and make it a win-win that way. So there's, there's just so many different ways to do it. I mean, that's what I love about real estate investing is there's so many ways that you can structure a deal, right? It's about finding opportunities out there and creating them into deals, right? Because so many people, especially when they're new, I did this, look for the perfect deal. Yeah, and the perfect deals, I mean, they are out there, but you got to be able to pull the trigger like right then and there, right? And if you're new, you can't do that because you don't know, right? And so it's about finding the deals that are often picked over and then coming about it at a different way and creating a deal that's a win-win. And that's where I find the option contract really enables you to do that because you're solving people's problems.
Yeah, it's a win-win. So you're in Manitoba, Cam. Are you investing mainly in Manitoba? Do you kind of stay within your area, or? I
do, because there's just so much opportunity here.
Sounds like it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's opportunity everywhere, and but for me, it just makes sense right here. I was in Texas a few years ago, but I pulled out of that, and but yeah, for the most part, I've got people. I was talking to someone recently, who wanted me to invest with them in Saskatoon or Alberta or Ontario, and it's kind of like, you know what, I've got enough right here that it just makes sense for me to stay invested here. Yeah.
Makes sense. And maybe if you run out of deals, then you'll look elsewhere.
Then you'll start
well, that's just it. And, I mean, another problem that I solve is I provide turnkey investments for investors, right? So investors who are interested in real estate, but either they can't get in their market because the prices are too high for them, or they're just not interested in learning all the nitty gritty or swinging a hammer or taking tenants' phone calls, right? So I've got investors from across Canada that own properties here as turnkey investments, and my company looks after the whole deal. And so basically I get them to buy homes for me that so I've got, a 7-page pro forma when a deal comes up, and I put that out to all my investors and provide them with a turnkey investment property that usually lasts between 3 and 5 years and double-digit returns, and so it provides a win for them. And so again, it's kind of like just bringing everything's kind of here. So.
Oh, that's great. So you're just bringing it all together for people who
would
be able to do it by themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So, and lots of people don't want to deal with tenants, right?
Yeah.
That's largely how I get tired and frustrated landlords, because, they get into it, they make a couple of mistakes, and then they take anybody to get in the property because they're bleeding, and they pick the wrong person because the person said, I've got cash, I can give you a deposit, first month's rent today. And it's just like, they're flashing money before your eyes, but you're not doing the due diligence. And all of a sudden that tenant's in there and they seem nice. And then a month later, they don't pay month 2 rent and they don't pay month 3. And it's just like, then you get in there and they're trashing the property. They got, a partner moved in with them and they've got a bunch of friends. And that's how tired and frustrated landlords really starts to snowball, because it all happens with a couple of mistakes in the beginning, and then they let somebody in their property that is a disaster. And yeah, so that's just, it's what happens, right? So.
Wow.
That's so true.
Yeah, we know all about that one.
Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, so did we go through the list already?
No.
Wow. No, we're not.
So if you had to start all over, what would you do differently?
Wow. That's a loaded question.
Yes, it is.
Take a sip before.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, take some time and drink your wine. Let me think about this. There's probably a couple things. You know, I mean, I bought my first property after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've been thinking about doing real estate investing for years, and like so many other people, I just didn't pull the trigger. So, I would have started a lot sooner. I would have started probably. I probably would have started 10 years sooner. So,
well, 2000. Just after the .com bubble and Y2K.
Yeah, well, actually, it would have been in the 90s that I would have done that because, yeah. So, anyways, I won't lament too much about that. But that's one thing I would have done sooner because I talk to people all the time. I just sold a house to a guy today, and he's going to do a flip on it, and I congratulated him on it. I said, Joe, I remember when. We first started talking about you doing a flip, and that was 4 years ago. So 4 years has gone by, and he's just doing his first flip now, right? So
wow.
Kudos to him for pulling the trigger, but it took him 4 years to do it, right? And I hear that story over and over again. So that's one thing I would do it sooner. The one thing I did do right is I got multiple coaching over the years. So I got a coach to help me quit my day job successfully and transition into starting my own business. I've had many different coaches, real estate and business coaches over the years. So that was good. I did that right. Quitting my day job, I maybe would have done that a little bit different because as soon as you quit your day job, you lose your ability to get mortgages.
Yeah.
Right. Especially for the first 2 years. And if you run into any roadblocks in terms of, cash flow not coming or a deal or two not going the way you planned, then, because banks are looking for 2 years of positive growth and a good track record. And so that can really set you back if you don't have that. So I would say, I really struggled with analysis paralysis.
And a lot of people do.
Yeah. And so, but coaches have helped me overcome that because they really pushed me to,
take some calculated risks. But
yeah, because I see it all the time, right? I see people spending time on stuff that's not important. In the long term, it is important, but you know what? You got to get your first deal done. Don't worry about if your website's got the right picture and the right wording. You just need to get a deal done, and you don't need a website to get your first deal done. And,
we had our first few deals way before we had a website.
Yeah, exactly.
It's yes, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah. One of the biggest thing, I'm sure you guys have seen it, but also experienced it, it's nothing comes without action.
Yeah.
And taking massive action is so important. You don't get deals done if you don't take action, right? It's like riding a bicycle, right? You don't learn how to ride a bike unless you physically get on it and you put effort into it by pedaling and take the risk of taking either the training wheels off or getting someone to let go of the bike. You got to learn that. And the best way to learn it is by doing it, right? And so that's the same with real estate investing. You've got to take action. And there are many ways you can take action without even having any money involved. I mean, because people are afraid to make phone calls. People are afraid to put on Facebook or Instagram that, hey, I'm looking at properties, right? And what are people going to say? And, I still struggle with that sometimes. But you still got to take forward action, to get that result. So for me, that would be the other thing would be to take more action sooner instead of, waiting weeks to call a tired and frustrated landlord, riding on my bike, seeing a FSBO, for sale by owner sign. It's like, oh, should I call them? I don't know if I should call them. I don't have all the answers. It's like, you're right. You don't have all the answers. You're not going to have all the answers until you start making those phone calls. And then they're going to ask you questions. That's when you get the answers. And then you call them back with the answers. And that's awesome, because you've done two things now. You've found the answers, and you've got a second point of contact with these people. You're calling them back. So you're building rapport. You're showing them that you're following through, and you're building your confidence, right? So without action, you would have not done any of that.
Yeah,
that's a great tip. Yeah, you really experience, like building some experience, and you're priming your pump. We love a quote. It goes by action precedes motivation.
Yes.
So it's so true. It's like working out in the morning at 5 a.m. We're like, oh, I don't feel like this. Yes. And then you get moving, and then you suddenly get motivated.
So you have to really think about that. Action precedes motivation sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of my coaches, his name is Tony Jerry, he's out of Dallas, and he talks about progress over perfection.
Yes.
Right? Progress over perfection, right? That's the antidote to analysis paralysis, is just make progress, take action, make progress. You'll figure out the details later.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing, like these video calls. And at first we're like, oh, we're going to do little live videos. We did 3 minutes, just Jennifer and I. And then we just kept increasing it. Then we're like, oh, we're going to have some guests.
Yes, and they're not perfect, but
yeah,
we're getting progress.
We got a light now. We need some mics eventually. And now we're turning them into podcasts.
Awesome.
So progress, yes.
Exactly, but it's still not perfect for sure.
No.
It's just, the way to grow, though, is to take action and do something. Find a good mentor, learn as well, but don't hesitate to take action either.
Yeah.
Like, we've put in some crazy offers on places, and sometimes the owner's like, oh, this is crazy. And then sometimes it's the opposite, like the one we got in Ottawa. Duplex we bought this summer. We're like, we're never going to get it. We have long conditions. This market does not accept any conditions. The owner said yes to everything. And then we extended our conditions.
And they said yes.
Because the bank was like, no, we need another week. And we're like, oh my goodness, we're going to lose it. And
they were pretty motivated. Wow.
And we lost an investor who was putting the down payment. We're like, okay, we need to find 100,000 in days.
Oh, we made it work.
We did.
Awesome.
Now I'm not afraid. We're not afraid of finding like private lenders and not qualifying for the deal ourselves. So we've learned a lot.
Put yourself out there, and like you said, taking action. I like your analysis of a bicycle. It's so true.
Yeah, exactly.
So that kind of leads us to our next point, and that's already a great tip. But if somebody's thinking about, getting on a bicycle, what would be your first kind of things that you would tell them to do? What would you advise them to do?
First steps.
Yeah. I would say...
get a helmet.
Yes.
I would say, focus on a few people to learn from. Don't subscribe to 5 different experts in the field, because they'll all have good information, but you won't get progress because they won't be congruent with each other. And you need to, because this guy will say, do this, and he's great. And this lady will say, do this, and she's great, but they're going in different directions, right? So focus on 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most, learn from them, and take action on stuff you're learning from them, right? So often people will, oh, that's a good point, that's a good point. And, they subscribe to, Tim Ferriss and Grant Cardone and all these people. And I was there too. And you just get overwhelmed with data. And so I've really pulled back in my own learning. I only follow a couple people. And but I take action on things that they say to do, right? So whether or not, if they're a coach of mine or not, if I'm following them to take a little bit of action on stuff that they show me or recommend, and then obviously if I've got coaches, I do the work that my coach tells me to do, right? Because if you don't do that work, it's pointless, right? Yeah. So yeah, for someone starting out new, it's like, you know what, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, read some Canadian books as well, and then take action on that information and learn from it and grow from it, so that when you go back and read it again, you're at the next level, right? Because I've got, I posted today, so this is a book that I've been reading. This is Maxwell Maltz, Psychocybernetics. So it's a book that I picked up probably about 3-4 years ago, and I read it and was like, it was good. But then I read it again last fall, and it just like hit me like a ton of bricks. And it's changed my world in so many ways, because I know the title sounds a little, you know,
sci-fi, science fiction.
Yeah, exactly, science fiction. But it's a very practical, down-to-earth book. And it's really about your mindset and self-image. And because everybody wrestles with that. And so, you know, I think I read it last fall, 3 or 4 times into January, got the audiobook, listened to it a ton. My wife and I often, like almost every morning, we're together, you know, with coffee. And oftentimes we'll read this book to each other. We'll read chapters or just paragraphs even. And so now this is an earlier version of the book. And I'm reading it again now. And so I'm taking action on what this book is saying. And so even though that, you know, this guy, Maxwell Maltz, he's not around anymore, I'm still learning, and I'm taking action from that. So yeah, take action from what you're learning, keep it simple, and grow from there.
That's all really great points, because that helps with the analysis paralysis, like you said earlier. Because if you're learning for too many things, and then you just get confused and you'll be stuck, you know. So that's great to.
Yeah, because we've done some mentoring programs, and each person has like their specialty, and that's fine. Sometimes it's market specific. Sometimes it's just their background as well, because you do have baggage, like all that learning and experience that you bring in to your deals. And you have to be careful you're not listening to too many different messages. It's like watching the news. If you're watching, especially like us, we're bilingual, so sometimes I've watched the news in French and English, and then I go back and forth, and then you hear things a little different angle, and it's like, what's true?
Exactly. Actually, my remedy in that, even though like I'm not bilingual, is to just not watch the news.
Yeah, that's very smart.
That's a very good one.
Yeah. Good. That's the best advice all night.
Yes.
Don't watch the news.
True.
Watch the news.
But one good news today is the Bank of, could be good, could be bad, but the Bank of Canada, they're not increasing interest rates till 2023. So people need to borrow, then it's very cheap, but that also means other things. But
yeah, sure.
Kind of goes hand in hand. But also, Cam, it'd be nice if you could talk to us a little bit about your coaching program. And I think that Francois said that you have an ebook.
Yes, available for a limited time. So
yeah, for sure. Awesome. So I coach creative investing. So my company's name is Creative Investor. And so it revolves around doing creative deals and making stuff happen. A lot of it has to do with lease options. So I offer a 6-week coaching program that is web-based and on demand. And so people can turn on and off. Because when I did my first real estate training back in like 2008 or whatever, you know, I paid big bucks, traveled to Toronto, and a course for 3 days, which was great, but it was like drinking from a fire hose. Imagine drinking from the fire hose, right? Your face gets torn apart. And that's really what happened there, because it was really good information. But when I got back, I didn't have a mentor and had all this information. It's like, where do I start? And so I did mine the opposite of that, where web-based on demand. So if you're a night owl, turn it on for half an hour and turn it off again and work on it, or do the whole 90 minutes that week, whatever. And so that's that. So the point of the course is to equip you with all the paperwork, all the marketing material, how to negotiate with investors and tired and frustrated landlords, and structure a deal that gets you cash flow now. And so that some people do that course in 6 weeks. Some people take 6 months. Others have done it in, a week because they were able to. And so with that, we have a private coaching community for my students to interact with each other and ask questions. And I've got students all across Canada and in the States. I've got some people in North Carolina and Alabama are taking massive action, and people in Canada are taking massive action. So it's really cool to see that. And then we've got weekly live coaching calls. And so all that combined together equips my students, how to structure a creative deal. And so what's cool about that I really like about it is I'm actively doing these deals myself, right? I'm not teaching something that I did, 5 years ago. I'm still doing it now. People get my updated contracts.
Okay.
And so we're doing stuff together in real time. So that's really cool. If someone's interested in that, I'd be happy to do a strategy session to see if they're a fit. And yeah, you guys talked about my ebook. So this is my first ebook. It's 13 pages. It's a guide to tired and frustrated landlords. So this came out early October, and we're actually taking it offline Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So if you're interested in this, you can go to creativeinvestor.ca/ebook, and you can download it there. And I've had some people that I've had 150 people download that this past month. And
wow.
Is that a big number? I don't really know, but have a really good response.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I've had some really good response. Some people have downloaded it and have taken action on it, because I give some really tactical points in it, like what to do, like some practical, here's your next step. Here's what you can do right now. And so that's cool. So I've had people respond and say, yeah, I'm taking action and I'm seeing some results. I've got some meetings with some tired and frustrated landlords. And so that's really cool. So yeah, so that's going to be up for another, I guess, a day and a half or whatever. So
you have to act fast, but I'm sure even your website, you'll have other things in the future as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Connected, and you're quite active on Facebook as well. So I see you posting different things, and you're now on 𝘪𝘯𝘓𝑐lub.com, the Facebook group, and hopefully you'll join the forum as well. So yeah,
that's
great. Thank you
so
so
on
much.
Facebook, it's Creative Investor.
Yep.
Okay, and Instagram as well. Yeah,
Facebook Creative Invest is the username there, and then Instagram is Creative Investor, and then of course me, Cam Rowland. I'm on both mediums and pretty active on both as well.
Okay, great. So, and your website again is creativeinvestor.ca.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to check out Cam's website or Facebook or Instagram and get some more information to take massive action, they can do that.
Yes. Learn about Matt Beck and tired and frustrated landlords. So,
well, we're going to keep talking, right? Because I still got the bottle.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. If you have more topics, definitely.
Yes, we don't want to cut you short. If you have, we went through our list now, so.
We're good.
No, it's
ready to take action.
Yeah, I love it. So, but no, I so appreciate being on with you guys. I been following you guys for a while and love what you do. I saw you posting about your house that you got into recently, that you moved into. We're doing a similar thing. We're actually doing a live-in flip on a house that's 100% owner financed.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
So we're having fun with that. It's a bit of a stretch, so my kids are pretty much grown up, but our youngest, who's 18, is living with us, and my wife Holly's, we're doing stuff together, and we're having a hoot, and we're learning a lot of new stuff, and so it's cool. But yeah, I love following you guys and what you're doing and all your wineries, and I also look forward to getting to know you guys better.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Does your wife and son actually swing the hammers? Do they get involved in that way, or?
Yeah, she's a doer for sure, right? Like I'll sit around and I'll be going, okay, how do we do this best? And she's in there like, just get it done, right? So
I love that.
That's her. I'm going to be, okay, do this, do that, and then I'm going to forget what I did. And she's like, get out of my way.
Yeah. And so it's great because we push each other because so for me, stuff will take a little bit longer to get done, but I'm a little bit more of a perfectionist that way. Whereas she is more of, let's get it done now. She's not here to defend herself.
Too bad she was invited.
Yeah, she'd be hitting me in the arm right now because she'll get stuff done, but it won't necessarily be straight.
Okay, but it's done.
But at least
it's done.
Good.
It's done, yeah. So we make a good team that way.
Well, you guys can complement each other because she can get it done and then you can straighten it out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, what I'm actually really looking forward to is the two of us coming out in our motorhome to visit you guys in Ottawa. That's what we'd like to do.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we can show you the Ottawa wineries. So we discovered
a few of them.
Yeah, there's some nice vineyards and breweries as well. So if you prefer beer, there's some nice beer.
I like them both.
We're into wine, as you know. And there's some nice wineries. Then they grow some cool climate grapes. They actually have to vary the vines for winter.
Yes.
We get like you guys quite cold, like -43 last year was the coldest it got. So
that's colder than Winnipeg.
There you go. So it's colder than Winnipeg. That's very unusual, though. In my childhood, it never got above -35. But now with global warming, it's getting colder.
I think that it's warm, though, in Manitoba. He said it was 15 today, and we had our first snow.
-7 today. Tomorrow's
there you go.
15, so I don't know what. This is crazy, but
yeah, it's crazy. So very cool.
Yes.
So motorhome, that's exciting. So touring Canada, looking for properties.
Yeah, so Katie, on that, it's on my bucket list. We don't have it yet.
Oh, okay.
But that is one of my goals is to get a motorhome and because a lot of what I can do on the road. And so we're at a different spot in life where we're almost empty nesters, and we've got freedom to travel and freedom to do that. So we actually lived in California for 4 years.
Wow, nice.
And we were in the Central Valley, and there's a lot of vineyards there, but we were really close. We were about 3 hours from Napa, but we were really close to Paso Robles and boy, I can't remember some of the names, but anyways, lots of great wineries. And so we've got the travel bug, and we love wine. So we want to be traveling North America and want to come out and see you guys. So
yeah, no, that'd be amazing. And that's actually inspiring us, because we were thinking, the kids are leaving home in a few years as well. So we'll also be empty nesters in 5-6 years?
Oh, not too soon.
5 or 6 years. And we were thinking we need a house down south and a house up here, but maybe we don't need a property. We're going to rent everything and get a motorhome.
Well, there's something to be said about renting too, right? So
yeah.
But no, we should plan a road trip together, and we can do our podcast and coaching together while we're on the road.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I have some contacts in California, investors, so Canadians investing in California, and they now live in California. Well, I'm sure you have some people in your network, especially who live there.
Yeah, they're in Texas. I got a lot.
Yeah, Texas. Wow, we could meet up with them, and we should get a GoPro and start filming what's going on.
GoPro.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been very precious.
Next time we'll have to have Holly with us as well.
Yes, we should. Very cool.
It's
Thank
always
you.
a team effort. Like Jennifer's I'm the gas pedal, she's the brake in our.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Except for when it's for projects.
Yes.
But well, thank you so much, Cam, and we hope that we'll be able to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look forward to it. Cool. Well, cheers.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Cheers,
Yes, cheers.
Yep.
I have no wine left, but cheers.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
See ya.